Well, welcome to Hamilton County TV. I'm Perry Williams. Alongside me today is Coach Josh Miracle. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks again for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's talk a little bit about this past week's game. You came out victorious over the Zionsville Eagles 28-10. But one thing I noticed, and we talked before we got on the air, you guys got a good start this time in that first quarter, scored 14 points. So let's talk a little bit about the football game.
Yeah, I think that's something the first couple of weeks we struggled with, and we knew that we needed to improve. So our guys stepped up to the challenge, and we made a huge point of emphasis in practice throughout the week, just getting out to good starts in the period. Our offense got out there, handled business, and that was great to get the ball rolling. And then, we pretty good defensive turnout at the start of the game, and we were kind of rolling 14-0, and then there was a little bit of moments still where we tried to beat ourselves maybe, and we got to continue to clean up some of those mistakes in the end. But I was definitely pleased with our guys' poise just throughout, and you see a real crucial stop from the defense to hold to a field goal, close to the end of the half there, and then we were able to come out and put a couple scores in there late, and obviously our guys just executed in the final minutes when they needed to.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of the players. You have a pretty balanced running attack and rushing. I mean, you actually do it by committee because you have so many good running backs and so many talented people. And of course, Carson Melvin, your senior quarterback, threw for 143 yards. He was 12 for 17. But let's talk about some of those. Your quarterback and your rushers and your wide receivers a little bit.
Yeah, I think offensively, it probably starts up front. I think those guys up front do a phenomenal job. They're, I think, just kind of meshing well together. They're learning, still growing, but definitely we talk about a lot, the O-line just being the heartbeat of the team. So I know, the quarterback play has been, phenomenal in terms of, I think, over 70% completion percentage and just getting us in efficient situations and delivering the big moments. And I think sometimes too, it goes maybe unnoticed, just the calm, the poise that's needed in some of these games that we've had to just be able to put the finishing touches on the game and handle all the details that go unnoticed. And, our running back by committee, those guys, they've just been kind of a 1-2 punch, and they've been in together, really supportive of one another. And I think that's been the beauty of it, is when other guys in the game, the other one's full support for them, and they kind of trade on and off, because we're asking a lot of them to play on defense as well. Then the receivers, some nights we get some big explosive plays, but really I'm more probably impressed with just the way they block as a whole and the way that they do some of the selfless details of the game, whether it's running off on a route, again just blocking on the backside so we can potentially get an explosive play. So I know those guys take a ton of pride in that, and certainly Gabe gets a ton of attention like he should in terms of just coverages and what we see, but you see consistent players, the Parker Knotts of the world, the Bo Browns of the world, those guys, I think really make us pretty hard to defend.
Yeah, but one thing about it, I've always been amazed that, especially that 1-2 punch you got at running back with Webster and King. I mean, they're both 6'1". Webster's a little bit bigger at 235. And I think King's right around 200-ish, But both those guys run with a lot of power. And I'll tell you what, Webster, he's a multi-sport athlete for a reason. He's very, very talented.
Yeah. And I, shout out Jeff Bennett. I mean, Jeff, he's been here with us the entire time, for 14 years, and he's just a phenomenal coach. I mean, in terms of the running back, so guys that maybe are a little less experienced in the position, for him to be able to get them to play at a high level and run with the kind of pad level he wants. And I just think the development of those guys is really a credit to him and the rest of the offensive staff, the time they put in to develop those guys.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that defensive side and also your defensive coaches. You mentioned them a little bit because you did a great job on defense.
Yeah, I think I tell those guys a little bit. It's probably one of the harder places to be in the room because I've called the defense for so many years, and Ryan's doing a phenomenal job. we've kind of done some things in tandem, and there's been other guys on the defensive side that have had coordinator experience. But really, it's a selfless room. Those guys work at it together. We're kind of seeing what's the plan. Everybody has their input, and they really own their portion. And then we get out there, and there's not a whole lot of egos. Guys are just making the best decisions to put our guys in position to be successful. So I do think Coach Jasinski's done a phenomenal job. I've known him from way back when we played together at Wabash, and was lucky to get him on staff last year to bring him down here from LaPorte. And, he's just, I think, continuing to grow and improve, and that's really helped our room there. And then there's just been a lot of consistency over the years too. A guy like Matt Comer, who coaches our D-line, and it's a good problem to have, but we have almost 12 guys that are rotating there at the D-line. He's doing a phenomenal job just managing that and getting guys to contribute at that level. And I've really been pleased with the back half. We have a couple DB coaches where they're constantly improving every facet of the program. You look at Coach Reese all the way down, our freshman head coach, just getting those guys to get ready for the big stage at some point. And we've hired on Coach Springman this year, which is a great add for us, and just his juice and energy, and then Coach Mann as well. His just attention to detail and the scouting that he puts in, week out for the DB. So, yeah, it's a great staff. A lot of other guys too. You get Coach Crabtree, Coach Kettlebar, Coach McCardle. Those guys are just pivotal at the little details of what we're trying to accomplish. So, thankful for that staff. They're putting in a ton of work, and it shows.
Yeah, and it shows it out on the football field also. And I just think that, I'm glad you mentioned that front group on defense, and it's the same way with your offensive line. I mean, without those two groups, you would be in a lot of trouble. As great a player as Webster is, he probably wouldn't be too good going in that line by himself. So, so that's great. Well, let's talk a little bit. You're 3-0 now, okay? You've won some big games here. You go back on the road this week, and you play a Noblesville team that just lost to Fishers in overtime, and you're playing against an offense that you won't see again this season. So tell us a little bit about how difficult or how easy it is to prepare for that, because most of our teams most of the teams that you play are a multi-offense where you got to be prepared for the pass, be prepared for the run, sweep, the whole deal. So talk a little bit about how you program the team to do something that they aren't used to doing.
Sure. I think Coach Sharp does a great job over there. I mean, you can see just the discipline that they have, and just the progress they've made a couple seasons there. And it's always a grind. I mean, we've seen these guys probably 8 times in 4 years, so I think we're familiar with each other, and it's it's something that is unique. You don't see it week in and week out, but I think in some ways it's kind of probably a fun challenge to where it's a little bit different. It's a one-off, so we have to be creative for maybe how we're going to practice and how we're going to get prepared, not just for our varsity, but our JV and our freshmen alike there. But I do think that they've evolved things over the years, so they tweak things every time, and he does an awesome job of there's going to be some new formations, some new plays, something we haven't seen, and you kind of rally and you get prepared even in the midst of the game to see how they're trying to attack you. So yeah, they do an excellent job, and hopefully our guys will be up for the challenge. They know that it'll be a physical battle, and they have to be disciplined just to execute their assignments, play in and play out.
Yeah, and it has to be a benefit, I guess. Also, I'm always amazed when we broadcast your first game and you had senior night and you had 48 seniors. So it's not like this team has not seen that offense, because they either play freshmen in JV or they played them on the varsity level. So, with 48 seniors, most of the time, most of those players have seen this offense.
Yeah, I think you hope that the experience, pans out a little bit, and I think it's good too for, our older guys. They do a great job of mentoring the younger players in the program and just giving them, hey, here's our insight, here's what we've seen before. Be ready to adapt and change. They will probably have their tweaks just the understanding what it's going to be like and the poise that it's going to take to, be in a complete game, because they're certainly, really good at what they do. They're going to run the track and power to a really high level, and we'll have our work cut out for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this is a short ride to Noblesville, but one thing about it, Hamilton County TV will be broadcasting the game from Beaver Stadium, so we'll be over there, and for the third week in a row, we'll have the Rocks on Hamilton County TV, and we're most definitely excited to do that, and wish you the best of luck, Coach.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you covering us, and I know it'll be a great game, 2 great student sections too, so those seem to always travel well, and it should be a fun night.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Coach.